Welcome back to another episode of the Practice Players Podcast. My name is Daniel and I'm alongside.
Nick.
David.
And the special guest, Warren Niles.
I don't think we've had anybody on our show introduce themselves as a special guest, so I think Warren already had a nice start to that.
I love it.
And we are the Practice Players. Today we are joined by Warren Niles. Warren is currently the assistant coach at Omaha, and he's a former four-year college basketball player as well as an overseas player. So we're very happy to have you on the show, Warren.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be on the show. It's big time, just to let you know.
First question I have for you, Warren, is just tell us about your journey and how you ended up in the position you are in today. You can elaborate as much as you want on that.
Okay, so of course I grew up playing basketball. Went to Oral Roberts and played for Scott Sutton and Chris Crutchfield, who's now the head coach here at Omaha. Coach Crutchfield recruited me from prep school to Oral Roberts. And, we kind of maintained the relationship and talked while I was overseas and playing for professional for 6 years. So we kind of stayed in touch. And, once I got done playing and retired, I reached out to him. And actually the assistant here with me as well, Kyan Brown, I reached out to him as well, letting him know that I wanted to get into coaching. And, the two awesome people they helped me. And, Kyan got me to Missouri Southern, a Division II school in the MIAA. And then from there, Chris Crutchfield brought me to Oregon with him when he got the assistant job at Oregon, then brought me here at Omaha with him. So that's kind of how I landed at Omaha, and I love it.
That's awesome. Going back, I took the liberty and looked at some of your stats overall from your college career. I mean, you were a productive player, 14.6 points for your career, 3.7 boards, a steal a game, 37.4 from three. So I just wanted you to sort of, walk us through what it was like being such a key player and productive player for so long.
I've always been kind of like a scoring type. And, I played 4 years in high school, went to prep school, so a post-grad year. And I think that got me ready for college. So once I got to college, and when Coach Crutchfield recruited me to Oral Roberts, he told me, you're probably not going to play a lot. Freshmen normally don't play a lot. But me being a competitor, in my mind, I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. Like, whoever you got in front of me, we're going to see in practice. I'm going to try to, kill him every day in practice. And we'll see. So I think the post-grad year got me really, prepared to play college minutes. And I competed every single practice. Every single practice, it was another 6'5" guard, one of my best friends today, that was bigger and stronger. And I was a skinny freshman, but I was a competitor. So I think that got me ready to be, to produce. And, I started maybe the first 13 games I came off the bench. I came off the bench. And I was still just work and grind. And I did play significant minutes. But, I had a coaching staff that believed in me. And then maybe my second time starting, I had an explosive game and scored 39 points as a freshman and broke the record. And I started the rest of my career. And I think, having a coaching staff that really believed in me and, put the ball in my hands as a young guy, I think that's what, ultimately, led me to be able to have the career that I had.
So talking about your pro career, you played in Switzerland, Italy, and France. Tell us the toughest competition you had, and then how the three different European basketball, like it just how do they differ?
Okay, so, well, I played in Japan as well for a year and the G League. So I know sometimes some places you look and it don't have like Japan and G League on there, but my first year I played in Italy, second year Japan, third year G League, fourth year Switzerland, and the last 2 years was France. So to me, the you said the best experience
Like biggest difference in highest level of
in leagues.
competition too. Yeah.
Okay, so it all depends. Like in Italy, it's more skill. It's more skill, talent. It's a lot different in college basketball. It's really like tactical and they're big on skill. It's not a lot of just up and down athleticism. It's a lot of skill. Um, Now, when you talk about France, it's totally different. It's a lot of athleticism and getting up and down the court than more so than Italy, like the skill part. So that's the biggest difference in those two. In college, and the thing in France is very, very physical. Like the league I played in is one of the most physical leagues in Europe. Like it's very physical, athletic league. So that's I think the biggest part in those two. Japan was, Japan was, I think, more like China, where it's just like scoring, and they give the Americans the ball, and they let them score, and kind of Americans going back and forth, and then Japanese players, you got shooters all over the floor. So I think then it's just more points in Japan rather than Italy. It was a lot of skill, and France was a lot of physicality and athleticism.
And bouncing off the question of tough competition, one thing
Hmm.
that I wanted to ask is it can be, big name or it can be someone from the park who no one's heard of. Who's the toughest player that you've ever had to go against, whether it's you guarding them guarding you, or any of the above?
I when Daniel sent me the questions, I couldn't think of anyone like just really stuck out until now, and that would be my older brother, who was he went JUCO and went to a Division II school. The 6'6" guard, very similar, had a game very similar to mine. I think he was the most difficult player I had to guard. And if I had to give another name, so his name is Trevor Niles. If I had to give another name, it would be Ron Bracey, who's out of Cincinnati, Ohio, who's a 6'5", 225 beast. So
Dang.
those two is the two that I'll say. Ron played at Stony Brook. We went to prep school together, and we battled a lot. We played AAU together. We battled a lot in high school. He played on the number one team in Cincinnati. I played on the number two team in the city. So we had some battles in high school, and went to prep school together. He went junior college in Stony Brook, and my brother went to the same prep school as me. So we were loaded. We won a national championship. My brother went to junior college and went to a Division II school. So in the average, like 24 and 10. So I would say those two are the hardest to guard.
Yeah. That's awesome. It's always the brotherly competition. Usually big bro gives little bro a tough time. That's why Dan struggles to guard Nick and I at times.
All the time. That's how it
Oh,
is. That's
okay.
how it is. And I think that's why I turned out to be the player that I grew to be, is because I wanted to be so like better than him so bad, and he was always better than me, and I would just push and push because I wanted to be better than him, and I think that's why I had the career that I had.
That's awesome. And then sort of bouncing into present day now, you've been a player, sort of played every level, all different places, and now you're a coach. And they both deal with basketball, but they're both extremely different roles.
Hmm.
Do you find one to be more challenging than the other? And if not, what are the key differences in that transition for you?
100%, they're different. I think coaching to me is harder than playing because for me, and this is for me, if I'm seeing something as a coach on the floor, and you know, the competitor in me wants to just go out and get it done and do it. Now as a coach, I can't. I have to get my players to understand, what I'm seeing and try to get them to execute it. Right there, if you're a competitor, you're just like, here, let me do it. Move, let me do it. You know what I mean? And I think that's the hardest part is trying to get your players to have that fight and that hunger and that competitive nature to just get it done. You know what I mean? So I think that's that barrier. That's hard for me. Like, or a player coming over to the bench and he's talking, mess, and it's like the fire is like, let me get on the court. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
think that's the biggest. That's why coaching is harder for me, is because I have to try to get the players to do this rather than normal when I was a player. I could just go and do it and execute it.
Speaking of coaching, I wanted to ask Warren, where did your drive to become a coach come from? Did it happen over time? Was it something that you always knew growing up? Maybe it was when you were playing overseas and you kind of figured, well, maybe I should keep, keep staying in the basketball industry and end up pursuing being a head coach. Was there an aha moment that you had in your career that goes, okay, I want to be a coach now?
It actually wasn't. I always knew playing overseas. Once I played overseas and I was over there, I had a lot of time, to sit back and think and grow and read. I think later in my career, you know, I started trying to think about what's next. What would be, next after playing professional is done. And, ultimately what came to me was I wanted to give back. And I know I wanted to be around basketball and I wanted to give back. And, as I started to think about college basketball, Coach Crutchfield came in mind, Kyan Brown came in mind, and Conley Phipps came in mind. And those three people poured into me so much as a player. Like Coach Crutchfield believing in me and pushing me. Conley Phipps, who, worked with me every day. And I was not easy to work with as a freshman and sophomore. I was not easy to work with. And them pushing and pouring into me and every single day and making me better and ultimately change my life. I wanted to get into basketball and get into coaching, get back into basketball and get into coaching because of that. I wanted to have that same, significance in the player's life if, to push him and to help him achieve his goal. And I think that's what got me because, I think it's a little different college basketball and professional basketball. If I would have been coaching in the NBA, I think I can still, pour into them, but I think in college basketball, the impact will be bigger. And I can really change and help them, achieve their goals more.
And speaking of being on this coaching road, I know you're a family man. I know you have 3 kids now. Congrats on
Thank you.
your third.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you, being in the basketball industry, such a fast-moving industry with having a steady family, is it difficult to sometimes gauge, how long you might be at a certain spot and, how that kind of factors for your family life?
Yeah, for sure. But for me, it's not a big change because, I've moved around always. I mean, even as a kid. And then, the longest I've been in the place was the 4 years I was at Oral Roberts. After that, I was somewhere different every year. I was Italy, Japan, Switzerland, G League, France, a different city in France, back to Cincinnati, Missouri, Oregon, Omaha. So it's been like that for me. So I think I've kind of adapted to it. But now having 3 kids, of course, I want to be in the place for 5, 6, 7 years if possible. Um, so that's the goal. But if not, unfortunately, is that's been my life. So I'll just have to adjust. Great question though.
And as much as it pains me to bring this up, I feel like we have
Uh-oh.
to. You guys recently played at Oral Roberts. Pains me to say those
Yes.
words still.
Yes.
But what was that homecoming experience like going back and now coaching at the place that you played and basically started your career?
It was great. I felt a lot of love from the fans, the administration, the coaching staff. Um, I had some former players that I played with, or that played at Oral Roberts before me that were there. So it was a great experience. Unfortunately, we couldn't come out with the win, but we took them down to the wire. But it was a great experience, man. I really enjoyed it and felt like, the love from everybody there in Tulsa.
Where do you kind of see yourself, kind of career goals or like maybe like 10 years from now? Just kind of walk us through that.
I don't know. Like, I would say in 10 years from now, I'll be a head coach. But if that's not the path for me, I'm fine with that. And for me, I hope 10 years from now, I have a lot of former players that I've coached that says, he really impacted my life and helped me achieve my goals and pushed me and poured into me. I mean, that's ultimately what I want 10 years from now. I mean, where I am professionally or in my career, I don't know if I have a specific goal, like I want to be here. I want to impact the players' lives and help them achieve their goal. For me, at this point in my life, it's about giving back. So I feel like I got a lot out of basketball. So.
Speaking of your basketball career, I wanted to give you a little player comp, or at least maybe someone I compare your game to, and I wanted to see if you agree with me and if you can elaborate to our listeners. So my question is to you: how does it feel being the Chris Middleton of manager games? And if you were to put another name on, if you don't like the Chris Middleton comparison, I want you to elaborate to the viewers who you think you play like. But I think you play like Chris Middleton, which is a good thing. The viewers should know that that's a good thing, that you play like Chris Middleton.
Chris Middleton is a great player. I don't know if we have the same type of game, but he's a great player. If I wouldn't say Chris Middleton, I would say more of like, are we talking manager games? Or are we talking like, if we're talking manager games, I would say more of James Harden.
James Harden is like, if you're James Harden, he's 30 and 28 and 10 a night.
Absolutely.
What are you trying to say, Dan? Dan, what are you trying to say?
That's a
Daniel,
big
I might have been 35 and 10 every night. Okay, tell me my stats.
I guess that was in our 5-man rotations on the road. I never went on the road, so I didn't get to see James Harden on the road. But when you were at home, you were like Chris Middleton.
Wow.
That's still 24
I think
game.
I think we got to flip the script here. Warren, what's Dan's comparison then?
I'm gonna give Daniel Dirk because he got the best fadeaway. He got the best fadeaway. I'm gonna give him Dirk.
Insane. It's an insane comparison.
If he's Dirk, if Dan's Dirk, I'm Jordan and Nick's LeBron. Then that's crazy.
Daniel has the best fadeaway and it's so smooth. It's so smooth.
Yeah, I mean, you could give him like Kyle Anderson as a good fadeaway. He can shoot.
Oh no! Wow! No!
Wow!
Oh,
so
no.
You know what, Warren? I apologize for ever making fun of your James Harden comparison. That might actually be a good one after they're comparing themselves to Michael Jordan and LeBron.
I would just give myself Steph at that point.
I was thinking Steph. I always used to say I was Steph Curry before Steph Curry.
I just couldn't give Dan Steph because Steph has a beautiful shot. I don't know what Dan has, but it goes in, so I can't complain.
It goes in. Hey, as long as it goes in.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Exactly.
Do you have any questions for us? I know we've kind of picked your brain for however long, but do you have any questions for any of us?
How did y'all get started? What made y'all kind of get into the podcast?
Dave, if you want to answer, you can.
Yeah. So it was about late November of 2022, so fairly recently. And I was working on a school project, and I was just talking about NIL and recruiting and different stuff within the world of basketball. And I had met Jay Billis at our Duke game last year when we beat number 1. And he said, reach out if you ever need help with anything. So I was like, he'd be a great person to interview for this project. We had to interview someone, reached out, was blessed and fortunate enough. He gave me like 30 minutes of his time, picked his brain about basketball. And then the last 10 minutes, we were just sort of chopping it up. It wasn't even for the project. And I just thought, this was really fun. It was informative. I wish I would have recorded it instead of just writing down notes, and I could have shared this information with people who wanted to hear it.
Yeah.
And then the gears started turning, and then I just kept brainstorming. And then I reached out to Dan and Nick, and we were talking. I was like, let's figure out something to do together. I mean, we have a walk-on, 2 managers. Like, what could we do that would just be fun and informative, and whoever cares to listen could listen? Yeah. And then, it sort of all just came into fruition, came up with the podcast idea, came up with the name, the Practice Players. Because, I mean, if you're in college hoops, managers and walk-ons, you like the practice squad.
Yeah.
And in December, it sort of just all came together, brainstormed, figured out the tech, and here we are.
So, did y'all go to high school together?
Yeah, we all played at Coronado together. Or Nick got 10 minutes a game, Dan. I got 5, but it was fun. It was fun.
Is that where Hardy went, right?
Yeah, we had a lot of good guys. Jane Hardy, Jackson Kohler, my boy. We play Michigan State soon. He was there. Pop Isaacs, Texas Tech. So there were a lot of talented players, and then we had Dan. Yeah.
Then we had Dan. Then we had Dan.
Hey, if the footage got released for pre-practice shooting senior year, I think I'd be playing somewhere, because I would probably beat all of our players every day in pre-practice shooting.
Great.
That was Dan's calling card.
I'm a firm believer in that.
You and Jaden were the 2 best shooters, no doubt.
Really?
Easily.
Yeah, you see,
easily.
Hey, Warren, you see that level of tier I'm put on?
You and Jaden Hardy.
I can't believe that we're putting him on this pedestal right now.
If we're talking strictly catch and shoot, wide open, not off the dribble, not being guarded, I mean, Dan might have hit at a higher clip than Jaden pre-practice. I'll say it.
Wow, that's pretty big now.
Now, don't ask me about anything else about my game, because then that'll just tumble downhill. But
post fades.
Post fades.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, I think this was phenomenal. Great conversation, great insight. Unless anyone else has any points they want to get out there, we'll get into the storyline. All right, so for this episode, for new viewers, we do a storyline of the week, just something big or exciting that either did happen or will happen within basketball. But today we're sort of going to do an unconventional one. Just being, I mean, this episode's being recorded Thursday, February 9th. So yesterday, you had all those trades at the trade deadline. A few days ago, LeBron broke the scoring record. So I guess I'll start us off, and we can just sort of go, round table, say what we think's most impactful. To me, I'm a homer. So I'm going to start it off. My New York Knicks, in my opinion, made the biggest deal at the trade deadline. I mean, it was an expiring Cam Reddish. I don't know why Nick's laughing. We're winning the finals. It was an expiring Cam Reddish contract and a lottery-protected first-round pick, which we have 27 of. Thank you, Dallas, for the Kristaps trade. And in return, we get one of the best wing defenders in the NBA, one of the best rebounding guards in Josh Hart. But more importantly, the last time Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson shared a basketball court, what happened? Ask Jay Wright, what happened?
They did win a national championship. You do have a point
there. They did.
And we got some of the toughest dudes in the league now. Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, Randall, Barrett, Mitchell Robinson, Deuce McBride, Quentin Grimes. They're going to play hard for Tibbs. And Tibbs going to get the most out of his players.
Will he start?
He'll probably take Quentin Grimes as a starting spot, if I had to guess.
Okay.
I mean, it's scary hours in New York. And now Brooklyn, I mean, bye-bye. Knicks run NY.
Are the Knicks the new New York team? Is that what we're...
It's nothing new. We run New York. It's just now we have the two. I mean, Brunson and Randall were always the stars on Broadway, but you guys will see. We'll come back. I'll clip this. We'll come back. I'll let y'all talk. Now.
I can go. Obviously, I believe the KD trade is pretty big, but from a big LeBron fan, I'm going to talk about him breaking the scoring record. I think the longevity that he's shown, you haven't seen. I mean, I don't want to do the MJ and LeBron thing, but like LeBron at 38 doing what he's doing, MJ at 38 was playing for the Wizards, averaging like 19 a game. So I don't want to do that, but maybe another time, because me, Dan, and Dave have had more conversations about this than I can count. Because
Who are you going with?
I'm a LeBron 1A, MJ 1B. They have it flip flopped, but LeBron is the reason that I like started to love basketball. So I have a little bit biased. Obviously, none of us were alive to see Jordan. We did see some Kobe. But yeah, so him breaking that, I mean, I think it just adds to his resume. You guys can give me your thoughts.
Yeah, resume for the second best, no doubt.
Yeah, no, I think when you play a hefty load of games more than, MJ, of course you're going to pass, MJ in the scoring record. It's
he passed Kareem
it's
and
fine.
did it in 160 less games.
There wasn't a
He's very good.
3-point line then.
What about that?
Yeah, Kareem scored 3 all-time points from the 3-point line. LeBron scored, I think, 6,700.
So then why didn't Kobe break it? Why didn't, you know what I mean? There was a 3-point line then.
Can you answer that, Daniel?
Why didn't Kobe break it? Because Kobe is the
Yeah.
most missed shots of all time. Kobe's overrated, but let's not get into that.
Oh,
Okay.
Dan's hating on everyone. That's crazy. That's crazy. I was with Dan until that. No, that's crazy. That's crazy. No. We're skipping Dan. Warren, do you have any big trade deadline things you want to talk about?
The KD one is crazy to me. Like, I feel like they just gave him away. Like, what did they get? Some picks?
They got 4 picks: Jay Crowder, McCall Bridges, and Cam Johnson. For Kevin Durant is nuts.
You got to get a superstar if you're going to give up Kevin Durant. Like,
or at least somebody who can work their way into superstardom, like a young guy that could.
I will say this. Once Kyrie left, they probably saw the championship window closing. 4 unprotected picks back. I mean, they gave all their picks to Houston for Harden, so now they have 4 unprotected first rounders, so they recouped that. Mikal Bridges, I mean, he's one of the best defenders in the league, so he's a good fit. But to me, it's not that they needed to recoup a superstar. I think they already have one, and they're just surrounding him with talent. I've been high on Cam Thomas since his LSU days. I mean, 3 40-point games, 3 40-point games in a row.
I mean, you skipped the All-Star level and just went to superstar.
Yeah. I'm not high on him, and I'm a Knicks fan.
These are some crazy takes that I've just heard.
I think Cam Thomas will be a multi-time All-Star, and he's the next young superstar in this league.
I mean, I guess I'll have to see. I don't know. I wish
I will.
And in your defense, I haven't watched much of the NBA this year, so. But
yeah, he just
giving up KD for some,
that,
some key role pieces is nuts to me.
Building around Ben Simmons and Cam Thomas.
Three 40-point games in a row can't be a fluke for Cam Thomas. 1 okay, 3.
Oh, it's not a fluke. He's
a bucket getter. He's a bucket getter, but that's what I'm saying. He's not Kevin Durant.
Dan probably don't like him though. Cam Thomas said he's a Kobe guy, so Dan probably doesn't like him.
I was just gonna address that I was over exaggerating. I do not think Kobe's overrated. I just
don't take it's on air. This is recorded.
I just wanted to see a reaction. I kind of instigated that, but
it's okay to have takes.
Pretty good job of getting a reaction. No, I really don't think Kobe's overrated. If one person's overrated all the time, I wouldn't even want to say that now because I would truly have to think because I can't. That's a crime to Kobe. I can't even say he's overrated.
Dan, it's okay to have takes, especially if they're wrong. Just stand by them.
Dan, where does Kobe rank
I clearly
on
thought
your list?
I was joking, but you guys clearly thought I was being serious.
No, you were being. I saw your eyes. You were being serious, but it's okay.
No.
Dan, give to me where is Kobe on your all-time list?
Like top 5. say he's top 5. No, is that
Is he
is that?
5? Is he 5?
I'd say he's 4. He's 4 or 4 or 5. Yeah,
Okay.
he's around that.
Okay.
He's not. I thought about it, and he's at least top 5.
Okay.
But I'm gonna say.
I don't
what I thought
understand
about understand the what?
I just don't like the people who say like he's 9 or 10, like those
Yeah.
No,
analysts that say
I
that,
think he's
and I
top 5.
just
Well, I don't mean to offend anyone, and obviously I didn't have a stellar playing career, but I think anyone who like got cut from at least their high school varsity sport and can't run one lap around the track without stopping shouldn't be able to then say, Kobe's 11 and overrated and all that. And that's not to offend anyone out there. I'm not going to tell them how to do their job, but I mean, if you hated on Kobe and you never dribbled a ball in your life, that's where I have an issue.
yeah. I feel like you can kind of tell like the players have Kobe way higher than the I don't want to say like nerdy analysts, but just those kind of analysts.
Yeah. I was gonna sidetrack back to the NBA trade deadline, and I was gonna say what I think the Dallas Mavericks are gonna be. I wanted to ask your guys' opinion because Luka finally has a complimentary ball handler next to him in Kyrie Irving, and we haven't seen this at all in his career. I mean, Jalen Brunson's great. Spencer Dinwiddie are great, all-star players, like all-star bench guys, but Kyrie's an all-star starter. Are we going to see a change in maybe Luka Doncic's usage? And what are our thoughts on that?
I would just like to start. Jalen Brunson isn't good. He's phenomenal, and he's not a bench player. He's a top-tier starting point guard in the NBA. Watch more Nick games, but I'll let Warren or Nick answer this one.
I think I don't know if it'll work. Me personally, I don't know if it'll work. I think both of them need the ball, and to me, it's very similar to like Paul George and Kawhi. Like they both play in the same spots on the floor, both ball not dominant. Take 100 dribbles to score. And both of them are great players, but I just don't see them playing very well together. And I may be wrong, but I don't. I think Kyrie's out after this year. This is just for the rest of the season type of deal.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think it's the kind of comparison to like a LeBron and Russ kind of thing. I didn't really think that was going to work. I kind of was right on that. I think I don't want to say they're the same player because Luka is a lot more smooth and Kyrie is just, in my opinion, maybe besides AI has the best handles ever. Like they're just both so ball dominant and so like they're bucket getters. And so I don't know if they're going to kind of transform Kyrie into like a spot up guy for Luka to I don't know. So I'm curious to see how it'll be like for their first couple games together to see.
Yeah.
And then even going into the playoffs, so many good teams in the West, they're going to be able to score with everyone, but who's getting a stop? They traded Finney-Smith. It's like Kyrie's an offensive player, Luka, Christian Wood, like Dwight Powell can get vertical.
Yeah.
But it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
If that's everything that unless anybody has anything they want to say, I think we can get to the outro. Good.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. Yeah.
Thank you guys for listening to another episode of the Practice Players Podcast. Thank you, Warren, for being on, and peep out. Peace.
Peace.
Deuces, thank you for having me. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you for coming on.
Yep.